But after watching basically everything that Alien has put out in movies, I can sum it up. I can sum up the Alien franchise in like one phrase. Fuck Joss Whedon. Fucking hate that guy.
That's your answer for everything.
This is Geek Off The Street, your go-to channel for all things from obscure geekdom to modern-day pop culture and everything else in between.
What's up, everybody?
Hello.
What are you doing over there? What was that? Like a meditation? Or?
I was going into the Avatar state.
Oh,
now you
gotcha.
stop me.
Oh, my bad.
Great.
Sorry. I'm good.
Yeah, you work for the Fire Lord. Now he's going to win.
Anyway, my name's Trent.
And my name is Marc.
And this is Geek Off The Street,
Street.
greatest podcast of all time. Talk about geek culture, pop culture, whatever else you want.
Deal with it.
This week is no exception because we were getting into beloved franchise, but also critically,
Yeah. There are high points, some really high points, and some very low points.
That's what I meant to say. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that.
Right. For everybody else, yeah.
But yeah, we're talking about the Alien franchise. Basically, in general, as you can see, this awesome Xenomorph figure. This is cool, man.
Yeah, that is pretty
Very
solid.
cool figure. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're listening to it, trust us.
Yeah, it looks pretty great. Yeah, it's an awesome Xenomorph figure. Now, I didn't really know what a Xenomorph was until this last few weeks.
Really?
Because I'd never seen any of the Alien movies at all.
That's why.
Yeah. So I had to watch all 6 of the last movies. I was trying to get into some of the other extended stuff and some comic book stuff, but I just didn't have time because I was trying to watch the mainstream stuff, which was the movies.
Right.
And we were going to talk about basically we're doing this as a two thing, right? It's one on one side we're trying to continue our conversation about strong female characters and this one is a great example of how they did it right.
Right.
And then number 2, we're trying to experiment with this little idea of like, how have you not seen this type episodes?
Definitely, yeah.
That
should be fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of classic movies and shows and projects that both of us haven't seen.
Yeah, neither of us have seen.
Yeah. And so this is one that I had never touched at all. So we're gonna get into both of those aspects,
which is amazing. Yeah, and that came about because I've already worn this shirt once before. It is the aliens detection, meter thing. Anybody that has seen it would be like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
And I'm like talking to Trent like, and he's like,
nah.
I'm like, what do you mean,
So Galaga?
It's a missile command?
Yeah, missile command.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Yeah.
So that's how it kind of came about. It's like, we really got to get this figured out.
And I've been told, shout out to Damien up at Stargazer Comics in Tacoma, Washington. He had mentioned to me when I was working for him up there, he had talked about it. I think he mentioned like Wayland Yutani. I think he mentioned that.
Nice. That's
or
cool.
he was wearing a shirt or something like that.
That's
and
cool.
then I was just like, I don't know what that is. He's like, it's from Alien. I was like, I've never seen it. And he was like, well,
right.
Okay, we're having a watch in my house. And I was like, okay, it never happened. But
his intentions were good though.
Yeah, so it's been a thing that I've most people have told me I needed to see.
Yeah.
And now I am on the other side of that.
Right on. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
But before we get into a big discussion of that, what are we drinking this week?
We are drinking. This is actually, we were kind of thinking it was something that we might have had before.
Yeah.
We don't know, but
Ingredients wise.
Yeah. But it's Trent Mix It. Go watch the video called a sonic screwdriver.
Yeah, and if you don't know what sonic screwdriver is from,
right, then you got some stuff to watch.
Yeah, you don't belong here.
Well, let's not go that far because you hadn't seen Aliens until, so
right,
let's pace ourselves.
Be a little hypocritical.
Right.
But yeah, no, this is a sonic screwdriver as used by Doctor Who.
Yes.
Because he deals a lot of aliens in his line of work. Drink has some orange juice, vodka. That's the screwdriver part.
Right.
We add a little blue curacao and some Sprite to it.
Some Sprite on top.
That makes it sonic.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the drink. It's pretty delicious.
Mix it up. Yeah, it is. It's very good.
Mm-hmm.
So go drink that.
All right. Anyway, so let's get into the farthest reaches of space, where these alien come from.
Before I forget, I want to throw out really quick. in relation to the positive or strong female character action hero. One of the guests that was on the show before our boys episode, Rocio, what's up? She says she can't wait to hear what two guys have to say about strong female characters. I'm like, please. I told her, please listen and get back to me, get back to us.
I made sure to like put that in the post. Like, make sure you listen to what we say first before you attack us.
Yeah, right.
I put that in the post because like I know it's gonna draw a lot of flack, and not that I'm like I'm not like I'm not scared of flack.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I think we talk more about the issue with the writing of it. That's the most part. We approach from a writing and storytelling perspective.
Right.
And that's where it doesn't work. And we have not said once that women don't belong as strong action female characters. Right. We never said that at all.
Yeah.
Just how it's written now with the specific examples we used is the problem.
Right.
Yeah. And I would like to hear her opinion on it and see if what she thinks about what we're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because as a straight male,
right? There's only
guy,
so much.
Whatever.
I mean, we have our perspective, but it would be great to hear, a woman's perspective on that. What do they think of that? Do they even care? Maybe it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, as I know, Rocio had talked about wanting to talk about Barbie, which was which was a big hit. The movie didn't resonate with me at all, but I kind of probably clear why it didn't resonate with me because I haven't experienced life that way, as it was portrayed in that movie. So I am curious. I want to know what Rusty has to say. But
but until then.
Yeah, until then. No shout-outs today?
No.
Not really.
I mean, I'm sure there are some, but I want to get back on track. I didn't mean to derail where we were going.
It's been a little while since we've done Falls. But big shout out to Wilbur McKesson, author. Wilbur, we just started the trivia contest. We threw out a couple of softball questions. I think these last two questions have been easy ones, and if you got it wrong,
get tougher.
They get tougher throughout the month. And if you didn't know those answers, then you're not going to do well in this competition because those ones were the easiest ones you could answer. So shout out to Will, man. That's what's going on for the next 3 weeks, and we'll announce our giveaway winner, and then we'll start over again for the month after that.
Nice.
Awesome. And the way you got to do that is make sure you're following both us at the Gots Pod and following Wilbur at author Wilbur M.
Yeah.
It's all in our show notes. It's all in there. Just make sure you follow him and us, because if you answer the questions and you're not following both of us, you don't get a point.
Right.
Doesn't count.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. But that's it again, huh?
That's it.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's get into this talk about Alien.
And
I don't think we even need to explain what it is. It is started with a 1979 classic titled Alien, about this crew that goes into space, answers a distress call, and finds some creatures aboard a very, very old spaceship.
Right, and hilarity ensues.
Exactly. That's what you want to call it. Yeah. And basically it spawned 5 additional movies. 4 kind of more in the same time frame. Well, yes, in the same time frame, and then Ridley Scott did the first one, came back and did 2 more later on that were prequels to it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Alien content.
There's another one coming out this year.
Yeah, called Romulus, but unfortunately, has nothing to do with the ones Ridley Scott was doing.
Right. So
and I know Ridley Scott was trying to make 2 more movies that would lead into Alien. And then that would kind of bring it all full circle.
Yeah. I don't know why you don't trust Ridley Scott. But
but the studio's just like, nah, you're not making enough money for us, so we're not going to let you do it anymore, which is ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah, so...
And probably that's been a bit of an issue with the Alien franchise, at least with the first 2 movies that came about. Well, I shouldn't say with the first. I don't know for a fact that was the deal with the first one. I want to say it might have started to get over budget. Well, I mean, it seems like executives are always... ready to pull the plug on something. I wonder how many great projects are out there that some executives said, "No, we're pulling the funding for it. We're not going to do it now."
Right.
This happened. It happened with this. It happened with Aliens was starting to get over budget too. They're ready to pull the plug on that. So it's interesting.
Freaking movie like Star Wars, way over budget.
Yeah,
and look what that spawned.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because the guy that was the major force besides George Lucas, obviously. But George Lucas, when he went to the studio, he went to a guy named Alan Ladd Jr. To get it done. And we probably wouldn't have Star Wars without him. And Alan Ladd Jr. was the same guy that pushed forward Alien.
Oh,
so it's
really?
Great. Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow,
we wouldn't
okay.
have either one without him. So, I mean, that guy had some amazing foresight.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think with both these projects, people were like,
No,
it's going over budget, it's not worth it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And they can't really see the vision, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Executives and there's a place for executives and producers and stuff, but
Right,
you know,
right.
they don't really see the vision. And I get it. It's a business. You know, studio needs to make a return on what they're making because it's expensive to make movies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's always a real strict, you know, thing about money and how things cost and you know, making a movie,
Right.
you know, for whatever, you know. So unfortunately, yeah, that's the case a lot, I feel like. But yeah, so the first thing I want to say about Alien, I was trying to figure out why I hadn't watched it up to this point. The first one might have been that it's billed as a horror, like especially the first one. It's billed as a sci-fi horror movie,
Right. Which is revolutionary. I can't think of any sci-fi horror that came out before that. I can't really think of anything.
Yeah.
I mean, they always had like these little, you know, I don't want to say silly, but these kind of creepy. The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Oh yeah, the Blob, or
that
like,
kind of thing. Yeah,
The Thing. Those kind of
Right.
older sci-fi movies. And it seemed like it was actually kind of oversaturated with these corny like 50s and 60s. Like sci-fi movies, but this was different. Like this took
very different.
Yeah, this kind of felt more like a Hitchcock type movie, real slow burn, real like the opening was very just long shots of this spaceship, and you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's a weird like atmospheric music kind of thing,
Right? And it felt real. It felt really grounded. It felt, you know, it wasn't like they were like in this white pristine ship wearing white pristine clothes and everything was all, you know, beautiful and fancy. It was, you know, in a sense similar to Star Wars, where it felt very lived in. It was science fiction, but it was still it felt very grounded, which was very cool. These felt like working class people, and that they were just, you know, doing their job kind of thing. So.
It definitely wasn't like Flash Gordon or something like, which is everything's all shiny and flashy,
or even like Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
So kind of the same,
very specific feel to it. I think that was the main reason I'm not interested in horror movies typically. And I think I just didn't really know like what it was really about, but you know, I knew about the face huggers and the chest bursters and the ball tappers. I don't know. I don't know which. There's a lot of different creatures in this.
Good night, everybody.
A
lot of different creatures.
Yeah,
you didn't see that part? Isn't the director's cut?
The only one? The director's cut. Yeah. You have a very specific website to see that version of it. Yeah. No, but
now everybody's picturing that. Ball tappers.
Let me go back and watch these movies real quick. But yeah, there's a lot. I knew enough about those things. I knew of the xenomorph.
Yeah.
I knew that it had the other mouth thing or the inner mouth or whatever it was.
The science of their anatomy was fantastic. It was great.
Yeah, I knew all that, but I didn't really know what the concept was. I didn't know, like, I thought it was just an alien in space that, you know, was attacking these people.
Right.
That's simple, but there's a lot more to it than that, which is really cool. I never gave it a chance because of that.
Yeah.
So those are the big reasons why I didn't watch it. And man, have I missed out over these the big portion of my life, basically.
Sure.
Yeah. Because it kind of feels like that era of filmmaking. I mean, I know these are a little bit newer, but like when I was watching movies like Terminator when I was younger, or like kind of like the suspenseful era with Predator, those kind of movies, like it felt like in that world. And it would have been one of those movies that was on on my list of movies that I just watch over and over because they're classic movies.
Yeah.
That I was able to see when I was growing up, you know. Obviously, I'm a little bit, maybe a lot younger than Alien specifically. But even Terminator came out before I was born, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But I watched it a lot in the 90s. I watched, so this would have been one of those movies I think that would have been in lexicon of movies that I watched that were in that same category.
Got it.
But I just never give it a shot.
Yeah.
So yeah. And maybe it has to do with maybe my parents too. My dad wasn't a horror guy. My mom definitely isn't a horror or gore person at all.
Right.
So maybe that's why I wasn't in the house. But some reason Terminator was less slide.
Yeah.
less slide. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I mean, Terminator definitely is not a horror,
Yeah.
movie. And that's interesting. Yeah. The guy that did Terminator did Aliens, the second movie, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah, very cool.
Mhm.
But yeah, Alien, the first one, I don't think I had seen it. I had seen it in bits and pieces, throughout my life.
Yeah.
I think this might have been the first time I sat down and watched it from beginning to end in its entirety. Right?
Okay.
So it is great. Now that I'm a lot more focused, I suppose, on, picking up on little things. There are a couple little things here and there that like, okay, that, that's not right. It's just like little editing things, just little, minor things. But in the scheme of things, it doesn't matter. It was extremely groundbreaking.
Oh yeah.
For what it was. You know what I mean? There was nothing. It's done so well. And I'm trying to think if it holds up as far as a horror movie is concerned. Because I know when I was watching it, and again, maybe just because I've seen it in bits and pieces, I don't remember necessarily feeling, scared or jumpy or nervous or anything like that.
Same, which is weird for me because I'm scared of everything. So,
right, and I was curious about that too, because I know it is billed as a horror. Well, but I don't think most people, when they think of Alien, they don't necessarily think of it as a horror. I think they think right to the sci-fi side of things.
Yeah.
Because so much of it has been sci-fi.
Right, yeah.
All the sequels and everything else.
Yeah. No, if you really think of it, because the first one is on its own.
Big time.
And I think, and as much as Aliens is better than the other ones that came after it,
Right.
I think they're still closer together than they are to Alien. As far as tone and as far as the type of movie it is.
Yeah. No, I agree. I feel like the sequels that came afterwards, they were definitely chasing, or they're on the coattails of Aliens, the second movie, more than they were the first one.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch, I've seen them, but I haven't rewatched them, the prequels. So I'm really thinking, and especially since those were all done by Ridley Scott, it might be an interesting thing to do, to watch Alien and then go watch the prequels. Just skip everything else. Just to get that feel for it. You know what I mean? Just to maybe get a deeper, better understanding of these aliens.
Yeah, to kind of see what he intended, I think.
Exactly.
What kind of story he intended to tell with all of them. So I think, I'm pretty sure Ridley Scott kept making the movies back then, they wouldn't have been what they became, I think. Yeah,
no, I agree.
Just he's a different filmmaker, I think, different style, type of filmmaker. So
yeah, we definitely wouldn't have had. Yeah, I agree. I think everything that came after Alien would not have been. Yeah, it wouldn't have existed.
Right, right. But I think though, for me, Alien. I mean, I want to go back to what you were saying about how it's aged. What should I say? For me, yeah, Alien. I think it has aged really well as far as filmmaking goes.
Sure.
Like,
okay.
Like to me, it still looks great. It looks great. The acting's pretty good. The tone. Like, you get what they were going for with this movie. Horror wise, and I'm trying to really figure out where I am as a person right now. Like, I've gone back and watched enough like movies that are supposed to be horror films that haven't scared me. So maybe I just have maybe I'm haunted as a kid. And like having to catch these horror movies as a child that have scarred me for life. Yeah. And maybe now that I'm going back and watching horror movies, it's like, it's not that bad. Like, it's really not that bad. Maybe that's the case. Like, maybe, or I don't know. I'm just watching movies that are not that scary. But but yeah. So as far as a horror movie, I don't think it'll scare modern audiences if you went back and watched it. Yeah. But man, it still looks good, man.
It looks
still
very
looks good.
It looks great.
The set design, even the alien itself. I was watching this video, and there's only like a total of 4 minutes of screen time in this 2-hour runtime movie of the xenomorph. Yeah. So you barely see it. So they use a lot of like that fear that you can't see kind of thing, and they really lean to that claustrophobia and like the space horror, that kind of stuff, which they do really well with. And I get it, and I think it still holds up in a lot of ways. Again, it probably won't scare modern audiences because kids are so desensitized these days. But man, I think I'm glad. I enjoyed it, even though it came out in 1979.
Right.
Doesn't feel like it came out that long ago, you know?
Right on.
Yeah, with how it looks.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things that I think if you are a movie fan that you will kind of give a pass to, as far as like, you know, them dealing with the computers and
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that kind of stuff. I mean, that you really have to let that go. You have to realize that, like you said, it was made in 1979, and it's really interesting when it comes to science fiction. It's interesting what nobody can really predict. Like nobody would have predicted iPhones. You know what I mean? Or that kind of thing, or smartphones, whatever you want to call them. You know, but that's like a common thing nowadays. No one would have predicted Windows. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? Using a computer, or using a mouse on to move operate a computer. It's cool to see what the concept of science fiction was at that point in time. That is a very, for me, that's a fun thing to see.
Yeah.
See what people back then thought, you know, this is what the future maybe could look like. Kind of thing,
most definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Even with Back to the Future Part 2, they had an idea what 2015 was going to look like. And it's not all what it looks like. We're not even close to that technology.
They're very ambitious. Everybody's very ambitious with what they think is going to happen in the next like 20, 30, 40 years. And it's almost the same as it was with just, you know, the car's a little bit faster and a little bit nicer. Yeah. You know, the computers work a little bit better. But it's just those little weird innovations that nobody ever really thinks about. Like I said, like, you know, who would have thought of a smartphone? Like that's the most common thing in the world nowadays. But
20 years, 30 years ago, for sure, 30 years ago,
no one was thinking about that. It's just that spark of, you know, human, you know, ingenuity, which is amazing. When given a chance. So
definitely,
yeah, interesting. So so I'm gonna kind of segue this into Aliens. When I was a kid, I saw Aliens as a kid, and I think it came out in 86. So I was probably 12-ish years old. Probably too young to watch that movie, but I had seen it, and that it blew me away. I was completely like floored by it. Now that I'm older and I watch it again, at one point in time it was a great action movie with some really cool characters in it. And now that I've watched it again, I'm looking at, I feel like Ripley's character goes through, and I think I mentioned this the other day, that Ripley's character goes through more character. She has this really great arc for her character, compared to the original Alien movie. And I think some people probably might compare, you know, which one is better, Alien or Aliens. I think that's, you know, I look at them, they're in two different lanes, you know, for me anyway. So I don't want to take anything away from either one of them. But personally, if I was thinking about it a lot, if I had to choose between one or the other, I would probably lean more into Aliens, the second one. And I don't know if that's because I watched it, you know, as a kid, and that's kind of what I imprinted on, right? You know, which I think a lot of people do. The first time you hear a song and you like it, like my take is you imprint on that, and then you find out later, like, oh, that's a remake of a song that came out 10 years ago, or a song that came out 30 years ago, right? And you're like, well, let me hear that song. You're like, no, I like the other one better, you know. But I think it's just whatever you hear first, and if it resonates with you, then that's what you're gonna, like I said, you're gonna imprint on that. But for me, I feel like there are a lot of interesting characters in Aliens, the sequel, the second one. Ripley's character has, like I said, she has a fantastic arc, and you can kind of see, and again, it's James Cameron, so I feel like you can see a little bit of Sarah Connor in that, because Ripley is very flawed, right? And then when you would, just because of the emotional damage, right, and because of the burden of knowledge, that's a big thing. The burden of knowledge that she has, she knows what these aliens are and what they're capable of more than anybody else. Nobody else knows what she knows. And then you look at Sarah Connor, and she's the same way. She knows what nobody else knows.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like even John, her son, doesn't really know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's never seen these things before. She's the only one that has seen it firsthand, has lived through it, and she knows what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And you see Ripley, she kind of unravels a little bit when she's in the meeting with the executives.
Yeah.
And she's telling, and that's what I saw, like, oh man, she's not as amped up as Sarah Connor was, but you saw that, you know, the emotions were coming out when she was in that meeting and telling them, you can't go back there. It's crazy. I've already told you, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So it's interesting. Maybe James Cameron knows how to write good. I think he knows how to write good characters, but maybe good female characters as well. Because then I was thinking about like the movies that he's made. So you have, like I said, you have Aliens, you have Terminator, strong female characters in there. You have I haven't seen, or Leviathan. There was a movie that he made that it was dealing with going under the sea. I saw some of that. Okay. But Titanic, you know, Rose, her character, she goes on, and in this age where women weren't allowed to do very much, she goes on and has this dynamic life, and then when everything's over, she kind of goes out on her own terms. Yeah, you know, for the most part. And then with Avatar, you realized that Zoe Saldana's character. Exactly. Yeah, she's a daughter, she's a wife, she's a mother. And she's a warrior. Yeah. And she runs with all of it. So. Yeah. Nothing. Yeah. None of those characters feel forced. Right. Exactly. Or yeah. Maybe it is James Cameron. Maybe he has the right approach to it. Right. Maybe he knows how to tell a good story about a character. Yeah. Yeah. And I won't go so far as to say he knows, you know, more about women. Yeah. I don't know him, but I wouldn't go that far at all. Yeah. I think maybe he just knows about good characters, but when he does create a good female character, or when he does write a female character, he writes them very well. I think he just, maybe just makes characters very well, but yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, none of his stories are like groundbreakingly crazy, like and the Avatar stories have not been. Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, the Avatar, especially the first one, even the second one, but the first one, it was so groundbreaking because, I mean, it wasn't you were the way engaging, it was shot, but the way it was shot, was revolutionary. It was amazing. So but I was even me seeing it 10 years later on Disney Plus. I watched it and I was like, oh shit, I actually kind of get it. Yeah, 'cause I think at the time when it came out, I'm a bit of a contrarian, I think it's fair to say. But this was like, best picture of the year. It made the most money ever. And I was like, this is supposed to be the greatest movie ever. And I was like, oh, it sounds like Dances with Wolves. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it does, and it is. You're right. But and then like the main actor, I've never been a huge fan of him as an actor. Sam. It's not Worthington. He died. Sam Worthington died, I think. He was the Spartacus guy. Sam. Anyway, you know who we're talking about. Yeah, because he was also in like the Clash of the Titans remake. He's been in a couple movies he's just kind of like the tough guy that just has a couple one-liners. So I've never been a fan of him either, and I was just like, this is just gonna. I don't know why everyone's gonna love this movie. It's just a movie. Yeah, it's the flavor of the week movie, Right. And then when I finally watched it, because we had to cover the Way of Water, so I watched it back to back, and I was like, oh shit, man, I kind of get it. Yeah, I get why this did so well, because like. Overall, like pacing, right? Visuals, right? And that all goes into it. Exactly. Yeah. I was like, this is great. It's not so much the story necessarily. Right? Yeah. I had no arguments at all about it winning Best Picture, making the most money, blah blah blah, blah, whatever. Yeah, I get it after that. So yeah. Anyway, point being, maybe he does have a knack for it. Maybe he has a talent for being able to tell the right story with the right characters. You know what I mean? And Ripley is a great example of that. Yeah, I mean. Aliens, and I think Alien, she kind of gets a little weird longer. I think in the Joss Whedon one, the Resurrection, that was a horrible depiction of who she was. Yeah, that was a mess. But I mean, technically, in that Joss Whedon one, that wasn't really Ripley anymore. I mean, it was like clone or whatever, super powered. Anyway, point being, I agree with you 100% that she has a better arc in number 2 because you're dealing with that past trauma from her experiences.
and then having to face that again, you know, and being completely right about not going. Why would you go back there? Like, leave it alone. Like, don't ever touch. But obviously, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation is pretty fucking corrupt.
And the world seems like it's very corporate. It's very business. You know, even when they find her, the salvage team finds her in Alien in the second one. They're like, there goes our salvage. Like, everything is business related. You know what I mean? It sounds like the company, as they keep saying. Yeah. It sounds like the company runs a lot.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if they're the only company, but maybe there are several. But it sounds like the company.
Yeah, they do run. I mean, and when you get into Prometheus, the expedition from them to get to that planet there, it was like $1 trillion expedition. So like, and Weyland, you know. It's Weyland at the time. It's not Yutani yet. It's just Weyland.
Oh, interesting.
And cool. they fund the whole trip, you know. And so these mega corporations seem like they're running everything.
Yeah.
But
interesting.
Yeah. But I will say though, and I'm not trying to get into any controversies with you.
Let's go, baby.
But me as who I am now and what I appreciate in films. Alien for me is the better movie. I think because I appreciate the slow burn, I appreciate the kind of atmospheric horror, the tone of that movie. It's really like it unravels perfectly, but in a very specific way. I think it deals a lot with like that body horror, that the parasite-ish type thing, the claustrophobia. It deals a lot with that, and that is. I don't want to say more relatable because obviously I don't know what that's like, but it feels more engaging to follow that storyline. Yeah. For Aliens, which I also watched that one pretty soon after, that movie, and I don't hate it. Like, it was really good. It was fun. But I put that in the category with Predator and Terminator, like the movies that are really awesome and fun, but nothing that I'm like thinking about after it happens, other than like, oh, that was an awesome action movie. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like for me, again, Alien is slow burn horror. Aliens is 80s action, the 80s action movie, you know, with a bit of a sci-fi element. Yeah. You know, that's how I felt about it. Maybe if I had watched I mean, not even that, but if I watched Aliens when the same time I was watching Terminator 2 and those movies in that generation. Yeah. Maybe I would have a bit of more appreciation for it. But watching it now, like, it's the same as me. Like, I'd rather watch Unbreakable or Man of Steel or Watchmen versus watching, you know, The Avengers or Iron Man or one of those movies. It's a little bit more of a action, like a exciting action movie. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's to me where I am as a person now and what I enjoy. Yeah. Because I've seen Unbreakable and Man of Steel 20, 30 times. Right. Watchmen I've seen 10 times. I've seen Iron Man twice or 3 times. I've seen Captain America once. Even the Avengers I've seen twice. You know, Endgame I've seen twice. So it's like these movies I watched the slow burn ones many more times than I would the kind of the fun action movies. Yeah. And that's how I saw Aliens versus Alien. It's just 2 different movies. Then you have to be in the right mood for either one, I think. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. I respect that. I am going to disagree. I think I liked Alien. I enjoyed it. And again, like I said, maybe because I watched Aliens as a kid, and loved it as a kid, that I have like that feeling for it. But now that I'm older, I feel like I appreciate that movie on a whole different level. Like, I don't look at it myself as an 80s action movie. Like, does it have action? Definitely. Did it happen in the 80s? Definitely. Would I compare it to like Predator or Rambo or anything like that? I would not at all.
Really?
No, not at all. Yeah, there is action in it, but that you're gonna watch that the same way you might watch like the Fast and the Furious. Like, you don't watch the Fast and the Furious to see like anything emotionally, for any sort of emotional development in the characters, right? You're going there to watch action, gunshots, and things blowing up, and whatever's going on. And like you could say that in Predator. I would 100% say that with Predator. You can say it with most 80s action movies, but I don't feel like that was the case with Aliens. Like I said, just because of what Ripley was going through, I thought that was an amazing story. And I won't get all into it right now, but even in the director's cut of it, like it goes that much further in depth, where it talks about like Ripley had a child that you don't see that in the original movie. You don't know about that.
Yeah.
And just how good the movie is in general is that they were able to edit and put this movie together where they left out something that was very pivotal to Ripley's character, and they still made it work. Like it would still work if they talked about Ripley's having a baby, having a child that has grown up and become old by the time she gets back. That's really interesting. But even if you leave that out and you say it's not canon or whatever, the fact that everything that she went through, and then what she goes through trying to, when she finds Newt, this little child that, you know, they're the only two at this point now that really know what's going on. And Newt has an understanding of it that's completely different from everybody else. And the fact that she goes through all this, you know, effort and work and like risk her life to save her is amazing. Like just seeing that is great to me. And it's not so much about, and again, when I was a kid, the shooting and the gunfire and all that kind of stuff, that was cool. But you don't see that in action movies where there is that, again, that arc to the character. And then I think the supporting cast was fantastic. Like there were so many, all those Marines. I mean, we don't get a chance to really see all of them, but they were super interesting. I think another great female character in that was Vasquez. She was such and to me, when I was a kid, I just thought she was amazing because she didn't take any shit. She was ready to fight. She didn't give a damn. The women in the Marines, in those Space Marines or whatever you call them, the Colonial Marines, they were great. Vasquez was a badass. The pilot, I can't remember her name right now, when the alien gets on board the ship. Oh yeah. And the alien's coming at her, like she reaches for a gun. She doesn't start like, oh my God, or doing whatever, or like, screaming. It's like that horror movie, female. She's this badass chick, like, oh, I'm a Marine. I'm gonna, effing try to fight you or whatever. So the supporting cast of it was great. Hudson, this, he's supposed to be this tough guy or whatever, supposed to be this, this macho Marine character. But when he's pushed, he cracks and he's scared and he's panicky, and he has moments where they bring him back and he comes back, but he's overwhelmed by all of this. And when he has his final moment, where he's going out fighting. You know what I mean? Even with Vasquez and Gordon, the lieutenant, she hated him. Yeah. But when everything came to a head and she gets stuck, like holding the line so everybody else can get away, Gordon goes back for her. He knows Vasquez doesn't like him. Yeah. And he's been a bit of a putz throughout the whole movie, unfortunately. But he goes back for her. And then when they find each other and they're cut off and they pull out the grenade and it's a beautiful moment where they clasp hands together and they go out together. It's almost like a lot of the characters have a bit of like a kind of redemption, or a lot of the supporting cast have like they have a great story to them. I feel like the story with Waylon might have been a little forced. The corporate guy, like there has to be like this corporate bad guy. Oh yeah, that felt a little forced. Like I don't know if I needed to see like this, and he's responsible. It's like, okay. Then I started thinking too, like, wait a second, they've been on the colony for 20 years, right? They said their families have been there for 20 years. Like Waylon is like, I don't know, in his mid 30s. Maybe he's 40. Maybe if you want to like really push it.
That guy was Waylon, or was he? I thought he was like a representative of Waylon. Wasn't his name like Dex or something?
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. You're right. I'm sorry. Yeah. What was his name? Yeah, you probably would have remembered if I didn't say Waylon, but yeah. Yeah, but Paul Reisner.
Yeah,
Paul Reisner's character. Yeah, he looked like he might have been 35. Like I wouldn't put him at 40. I wouldn't put him at 40, right? And then they say like there have been people on this planet for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that was an exaggeration. Maybe it's like some sort of generalization.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
the timelines could have mixed up the times too.
Yeah, somehow. Or something. Yeah. Then they turned around and they made it sound like, well, wait a second. You know, he was the guy, Burke. That was his
Burke.
name.
Yeah.
Burke was the guy that signed off on the families going there or something. Like,
how old were you when you signed off?
Yeah, like, what is
it,
Burke? Yeah. You had this job when you were 12?
Yeah.
Like, good for you, little man. Good for you. Give him a break. But yeah, so it's for those reasons. Like, it's not even the action aspect of it. The action aspect of it is great. And then even, again, Ripley and the Loader going toe-to-toe with the Queen. You know what I mean? There were so many great elements to this story. I feel like that movie was put together. It was edited just about perfect from beginning to end. I've heard to read the script is considered like one of the best scripts in Hollywood. Just the way it is, the way it was done, the way it was written, all that stuff. So I feel like overall, like if I had to make a choice, I would choose Aliens over Alien. I mean, it'd be like a 52-48 ratio kind of thing. You know what I mean? I don't want, because I feel like a lot of people that are fans are they probably have their own favorite. Yeah. A lot of people will have Alien as their favorite, and some people probably will have Aliens, the second one, as their favorite. No one's talking about Alien Resurrection or, we're not even.
Yeah. No, I mean, I actually did a lot of research, and I was actually surprised to find that most people like Aliens better. It's a little more accessible, I think. I think it did really well when it came out.
It did. I think the budget was like $18.5 million, and then it made somewhere around like $181 million, which is a lot in 1986.
Yeah, back then, a lot of money. Yeah.
So very successful.
Yeah. So I see the merits in it, and I do like what you're saying about it. But man, I was kind of maybe I was just maybe.
No, I mean, if you're into what you're into,
maybe the mindset I was into, but I was annoyed by all the Marines. Man, I thought they were all just like one-liner meatheads.
Really,
a lot of the time. The Hudson guy, I think maybe his acting was bothering me. Like he's acting to me.
Bill Paxton?
Yeah, all of his like, we're gonna die, man, we're gonna die, man, we're gonna die. Like
he was freaking out.
It just didn't seem believable as a performance. Like I see he was freaking out, but like his performance was like, I was like, I don't know if I believe you're acting.
Oh my god!
So like, everyone was just like, and even like as soon as this is how I realized what the tone of this movie was. As soon as Ripley is trying to explain to them on the ship, the Marines, what's going on the thing. Yeah. And Vasquez interrupts and says, I don't care. You just tell me where to shoot and I pull the trigger. Right. And I was like, all right, I see what the tone of this movie is.
I don't think
it's kind of a hothead action romp, kinda.
But when you saw the rest of the movie, did you still feel the same way? You felt like it was like a hothead? Wow.
It really felt like Predator to me in a lot to and I haven't seen Predator in a long time, but it felt closer to that than it did closer to what Alien was trying to do. Like I think it was closer to the Predator and the action, like the 80s action movies than it was over to Alien. I think. And I think my issue with Aliens is I think it took the franchise in a different direction.
It 100% did.
Like it didn't, like the things that were introduced in Alien, like what was important about Alien and the perfect being and the xenomorphs and what they actually represent is not. I think Aliens changed that, and then it took it further and further away, and then it kind of became something way different. And so I think that's my issue with Aliens. The Aliens is what changed the trajectory of what Alien could have been. Right. I think. And I think even Alien by itself could have just been a standalone movie and never touched again. I think it would have been fine. But I think Aliens, as good as a movie as it was, it is the reason why it became what it was, I think. Right.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I agree to the extent that it definitely took it on a right turn. It definitely made like a 90-degree angle on that, on the franchise. But for me, what should have happened is that should have been like this very cool story, and then get back, if you want to start focusing more on the alien itself and what they are and blah, 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 then you want to then stick with that. I feel like when you get movies 3 and 4, I don't blame just because Aliens, the second movie, was so good, and then you had all these people trying to mimic it and come after it, I don't blame Aliens for that. I blame the people that came after for trying to, ride the coattails.
Yeah.
And a great example of that would be the Star Wars sequels. That's a good example. What was the other franchise I was going to mention? Where, yeah, man, I can't. I had it in my mind, but yeah, when you have like a good movie or a good story, and then another group comes along and they take it a different direction, and they're the ones that mess it up. Like I don't blame that good movie. I was going to say the original Batman movie franchise.
Yeah,
it started with Michael Keaton. Like the first one was great. Second one was cool. Maybe not quite as great as the first one, but the second was cool. And then you had the third and the fourth one where it just went off the rails, like with the craziness or whatever. So I don't blame the first two movies for the 3 and 4 that came after it that were trying to, like I said, ride their coattails.
Yeah.
They're the ones that mess it up. They're the ones that took it in the wrong direction.
But I think though, but I think because the tone changed so much that Alien 3 and Resurrection are closer to Aliens
100%
than they are to Alien.
No, that's why I agree with you.
And I think if Ridley Scott made the sequel to Alien, we wouldn't have gotten Alien 3 and Alien Resurrections.
Right.
I don't think we would have gotten if Ridley Scott finished the trilogy.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think not to say that again, Aliens is good in its own right, but it spawned because of the tonal shift. That's why Alien, the franchise, went in that direction.
Well, I would say too that if Ridley Scott had taken over, maybe he would have done like a trilogy, and maybe it would have been good. I don't know. Maybe either way, could have been good, could have been bad, whatever. Yeah. But I will 100% say if we did not get Aliens, that second movie, that would have been a mistake. That would have been, I'll just say, a disaster not getting that movie, because that's, in my opinion, how good that movie is. And I think with a lot of people, if they talk about 80s movies, Aliens is going to be one of those things that is going to be, it's going to be mentioned. It's going to be one of the movies that defined the, the generation or whatever.
Yeah.
That movie had a great impact on me, because I know like movie ideas that I've had and that I've come up with, I know for a fact, it's not even one of those things that I even try to spin. Like if somebody asked me about it, I would say this movie is 100% an homage to Aliens.
Yeah.
100% it is. And I'm not even going to try to, cover it up and do anything. It is straight. That was the inspiration for it.
Yeah.
You can totally see it in this project or whatever. But like I said, it's about it's opinion, it's taste, whatever.
Yeah. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
And I think I already know the answer, but if you had a choice, if we could go back in time and make a choice, would you rather Ridley Scott finish his trilogy and we not get Aliens, but also don't get Resurrection and Alien 3, or keep it the way it is so that we got Aliens, but also Resurrection and Alien 3?
I would. You already know the answer, and you're right. I would take Aliens because I focus more on the positives. But I don't want to, spin it like that. But Aliens is a good movie, and sure enough, there are bad things that came after. 100%, the 3 and 4 were terrible.
Yeah.
But again, I don't blame Aliens for that. That second movie was a good movie, and I'll put it this way, and this is, we're just going to go off on a little bit of a tangent. Like, I love America. All right. And all right, simmer down, everybody. I love America, but I realize that this country has done good things, and they've also done some very bad things. They've done some terrible things. But taking that into account, I still think America is a good country. You know what I mean? And it's almost like with kids, you know what I mean? Like a parent will look at their kid or someone they love, or vice versa, anyone you love. Yeah. You are going to see they're not perfect. They are going to have their flaws. They are going to have things that they do wrong and that aren't right, or things that may annoy you. but overall you still love them and you still appreciate them.
Yeah.
That's how I, to a lesser extent, that's how I feel about Aliens. I feel like that movie was great. I feel like just the people that came after were the ones that messed it up. So maybe we might have had, and again, I don't know, maybe we would have had 3 great Alien movies if Ridley Scott had done them, but I don't think it's Worth sacrificing Aliens.
Interesting.
Yeah, but that's what you would do. You would,
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd rather see what Ridley Scott was gonna do with it. And I respectfully disagree that I think that Aliens influenced Alien 3 and Resurrection.
No one's denying that. I'm you say 100% they influenced it. Yeah. I'm going to say 120% it influenced it. Those were bad movies that I don't blame this movie for.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. I agree with that, but I think that, again, if Aliens didn't get made, Alien 3 and Resurrection wouldn't have gotten made either.
Right. Yeah. We're going in circles, but we agree with that. Yeah.
So I mean, how could it not have had something to do with those 2 movies?
No, I'm saying it did. Yeah. What are we talking about right now? I'm saying it.
So you're saying it's not Aliens' fault at all that Alien 3 and Resurrections was made.
Oh, okay.
In the tone that it was made.
I see what you're saying.
I'm saying it is.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
If Aliens wasn't made, we wouldn't have gotten these shitty movies afterwards.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But again, I think it goes back to there were bad people that made a bad movie. So yeah, we would have gotten 3 and 4 with Aliens, with the second movie. We 100% would have gotten them. Like I said, I agree with that. We definitely would have got them. But I'm not willing to throw away Aliens, the second movie, just because 3 and 4 were bad.
Okay.
Just because they were terrible. I'm not willing to throw that movie away because the people that came afterwards didn't know what they're doing or whatever the case may be.
Got it.
Yeah, it's definitely I said that myself. It's definitely a product of Aliens.
Yeah.
Aliens did take it in a different direction of the movies that came after. Like I said, those were a mess. They shouldn't have done it. Yeah. But I'm not willing to let Aliens go because they messed up.
Got it. Okay. Fair enough. So fair enough. Yeah. And I knew we were not going to agree on Aliens and Aliens.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah. I kind of knew that too. Yeah. Even once, I know you hadn't seen it yet.
Even before I seen Aliens, I knew I was going to have a certain, because even it didn't seem like it was that threatening anymore, because they were just like machine gunning hundreds of these aliens and just picking them off like it wasn't a big deal. And they were getting killed too. And it was a crisis, but it wasn't as much of a crisis as it was in the first one, because they had these heavy machine guns and they were just blasting aliens crawling on the walls, and it was just like a like guns blazing, and it didn't feel like I didn't think I was threatened as much. It didn't feel like that.
Well, I still feel like it was threatening because these things they were very tough, and if you shoot them, they're acid, all that kind of stuff. They're very aggressive, they're very sneaky, all that kind of stuff. But in that first movie, these were just a bunch of regular people going against this incredible species.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they're going to get overwhelmed or they're going to get destroyed. But it also makes sense that if you send in this group of this military group to engage with them, then of course they're going to be able to fight back and do damage to them. Yeah. So I don't feel, to me anyway, they did not come off as less threatening or less dangerous. They felt more dangerous to me in this movie, because you did have these guys that were the military and they were trained and they had all these fantastic weapons at their disposal, and they still got their asses kicked. There's only one of them that got away. Only one of them lived. And he's been, disfigured by acid. Yeah. So to me, they felt more threatening in this. Like seeing what one of them could do against a bunch of regular people, is one thing. But seeing what a small army of them could do to a group was dangerous. And then that's where we see the Queen and all that kind of stuff. That's where the Queen is introduced. So. Yeah, like I said, it's
so I even wonder about the Queen thing. I wonder if Ridley Scott was maybe even would have done that. Yeah, do a Queen thing at all,
right?
If that was going to be an idea or not.
Yeah,
but I think just with me, I think that it's not as threatening when you can defend yourself. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, so again, Aliens is not a horror movie at all. It's
right.
not a horror movie at all.
Right.
And that's okay that it's not. But I think as far as the dire situation and the crisis, I think it's much more elevated in Alien because you don't know what's going on. It's an alien planet. You know, there's these organisms that are effing doing what they're doing. And in Aliens, it's like there's a hive. They're all attacking you, but we also have heavy machine guns, and so we can fight them back. And so those fighting scenes, that's what made me feel like, okay, this feels like Predator, or this feels like, because those action sequences were very 80s heavy machine gun, muscle bound dudes shooting at aliens. Like that reminded me of 80s action movies.
But that wasn't like the overall arc of the story.
The movie starts with like drumming and they're loading their guns up. That's how the movie starts, right?
I don't think it starts like that.
Or no, sorry. When after Ripley wakes up, the next scene when you see all the
after they wake up with the Marines.
No, sorry, I'm sorry. So this is which part was it now? I watched 6 movies in a week, so I'm trying to figure it out. But there's like it's a clear because like did you see that the drumming like it's just a
after she wakes up
and then
when
they're
she
loading
wakes
these
up
guns
with
and
the
it's a bunch of
Marines, and it makes sense because she's with a bunch of Marines. She's with the military.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that it's that they are gonna kind of set the tone, like the military's getting geared up and all this kind of stuff. I don't have an issue with that.
So is this movie not reminiscent at all to 80s action films at all? Like you didn't feel any connection at all?
It had a connection in the sense that you had people like with guns and shooting stuff, but let me say, and again, growing up in the 80s, when we watched like an 80s action movie, there wasn't really much of a story going on with it. You know what I mean? Like when you watch, again, Predator, there's not much of like this great arc that Arnold Schwarzenegger's character goes through. When you watch Rambo, the first one, you could say that
rest in peace, Carl Weathers, by the way.
Oh yeah, 100% on that. Yeah,
bummer.
That sucked.
Yeah. But sorry, continue.
Yeah. But when you watch the other, that's a good point too. I mean, even like the first Rocky, in my opinion, was the best one, in my opinion. And then the other ones, they were, Rocky has his kind of ups and downs, but there's not like a big arc going. You're not watching that for any sort of like character development. You could sit down and you could watch Aliens and you could compare that to all these other non-action 80s movies. There's movies in general, because you have this interesting character who's dealing with this incredible trauma and how she comes out and fights it and comes out on top of it in the end. And, maybe it was because of her, because she had to save this child. It's a very interesting story to see her go through that. Like when I'm watching Aliens, I'm not focusing on, there are some cool action sequences in there, but it's like the whole thing was just a big, with an 80s action movie, it's running and gunning the whole way through. And there's very little pauses in between. So to me, that's what an 80s action movie is. And that's not what this movie is to me, Aliens. I feel like it's so much more about Ripley and her character and how she has to deal with this trauma, this PTSD that she's going through. I didn't focus so much. Like, yeah, the action's in there. And again, when I was a kid, that's what I watched it for. I didn't care or think about what Ripley was going through and this, what her story was. I was watching it for the gunfights, right? And now that I'm older, I see that that's not what the movie is about. It's in there because it makes sense for it to be there. The military is there and they are fighting and they're engaging with these things. So it makes sense you're going to have people with, gun shooting and doing all this kind of stuff. But they weren't like these one-man wrecking crews. It was just the opposite. They were coming against these guys and they were getting wasted immediately the first time they engage with them. Yeah. Like they're dropping off like at the snap of a finger, or it's 2 fingers actually, but they're dropping off quick. So to me, that's why it doesn't equate to an 80s action movie, or even I don't know if I would say there's 100% there's action in it, but typically if you call something an action movie, it's typically there's a one-man wrecking crew kind of doing whatever. Like even like what's the name of the Die Hard? Like that's more of an 80s action movie than Aliens was, in my opinion.
What genre would you put Aliens in then if it's not an action movie?
I mean, I would say it's a sci-fi. I would still say you could maybe call it an action movie, I suppose. But I don't know if I would necessarily, I wouldn't equate it to like an 80s action movie.
I see.
Or just like a straight up action movie.
Okay.
You know, it's hard to say. Maybe that's part of what makes it so good, because most action movies are just, you know, some over the top stuff going on. And it didn't feel over the top. It felt, you know, they were fighting aliens and they were winning some points and they were losing other points. And they were really like losing throughout most of it. They were really getting their butts kicked throughout most of the story. And it was them trying to live and survive. But again, I think just seeing what Ripley was going through. Ripley is obviously the star of the show. Yeah. As Sigourney Weaver got nominated for an Oscar for that, which that never happened for sci-fi films. You know what I mean? I can't, well, I don't know how many sci-fi films got, you know, best actor or best actress nominees off the top of my head. But I mean, that just shows the gravity of it, you know?
Okay. So 2 things. Yeah. The first thing I'm going to say is maybe I'm going to go back and watch Predator and Terminator and maybe really Rambo and it's kind of zone in on what an 80s action movie is. Maybe I would do that. I'm going to do that first.
I would be careful putting Terminator in there, because Terminator, you can kind of see, again, it's the same thing about that character dealing with this over the top kind of stuff. It is an action movie, but I don't even know. I'll let you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna look at that and maybe look at it in a different lens. But I still think it's more of an action movie than it is anything else.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
And then number 2, I think it comes down to what it is about this franchise you like the most, right? So it seems to me clear that you care more about Ripley's arc, watching Newt, dealing with her from beginning to end in Aliens. Right. What I care the most about, what's interesting to me, is the xenomorphs and what they represent. This perfect being, this evolution, right? Of this thing that uses other beings to become better, you know, and that's what I'm interested in. That's why I'm not talking about too much, but Prometheus and Covenant, I actually enjoyed them a lot. Yeah, okay. Covenant, I think more than Prometheus, but I think I liked those movies a lot because it got into this, like the xenomorph, where they come from, where we come from, and dealing with the God complexes and dealing with the besting your creator kind of thing. Like there's a lot of great concepts in there about this part. Yeah. Not so much the characters really in those movies. It's more about more about this, philosophical concept of fighting your maker kind of thing. Yeah. And there's a lot of that kind of stuff in it that I was really interested in. So that's why for me, Alien and then Prometheus and Covenant are the movies that I would enjoy the best because of what it's getting into. Yeah. Versus not so much.
So if you were going to look at Alien, can you look at Alien by itself and then compare it to Aliens without comparing it to Covenant and everything else?
What do you mean?
Because you were comparing Alien and the Covenant and all that kind of stuff. Can you compare Alien by itself, that movie, against Aliens? You still think that movie is the better movie without comparing?
Yeah, hands down. Because I think it's from a filmmaking standpoint, from what I enjoy about the tone, the way it was shot, and then
maybe you should start watching horror movies now.
Maybe. But they got to be good like this. You can't just be like running, gunning, hacking, slashing, 80s horror movies. Yeah. It can't be like that.
There are a lot of good horror movies that are out there. I think. This one, I think in Alien, this, with all the stuff you're saying, this came off as more, the reason I'm saying it, because this came off as more of a supernatural threat. It's not supernatural, it's an alien. Yeah. But within that movie, it comes off as there's this, nigh unstoppable thing coming after them, and that's pretty much most horror movies.
Yeah, that's fair. But like when you get into what Ridley Scott was really trying to do with this, it wasn't really about that. It was about this thing that really, I mean, it's an alien, but not in the sense that we're thinking it's just a monster from another planet.
Right.
Like it's something that was created to become better.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's cool.
humankind.
I definitely like that. I like that concept. I like that exploring all those options. But I think that Ripley's story and her, I shouldn't say for me, but I feel like stories, it's okay for a movie to have a message to humanity. It's cool because it sounds like what you're talking about with the Alien and the Covenant. It has these great, higher philosophical concepts, which is great. I love that kind of stuff. But I also do love a story that has essentially a message for humanity, for people to hopefully learn from and walk away from. And in that one, it is going to be more of dealing with your trauma, dealing with your, whatever issues you got going on and facing them. And that one is in more of an action way, which is cool because that's what that is.
Now let me ask you this: in your honest opinion, do you think people like Aliens more because of that, or do you think they like it more because of the action?
The action, I would bet people like it more because of the action. I feel comfortable saying that. Yeah, especially for most people that grew up in the '80s, I bet they looked at it the same. That if they look at it through that same lens, because for the longest time, that's how I looked at Aliens. It was a great action movie. I never thought about Ripley's story and what she went through and how she came out on top the other side. To me, it was just a cool action story. Yeah. When I was younger, when I was a kid. Now that I'm older and I watch it again, now I'm focusing more on that, and that's what I'm seeing. Yeah. Most people will probably say it's a cool action movie with some cool characters. I would definitely say that. Yeah. So maybe watch this movie again in 10 years. See how you feel about it. I think I respect your opinion more because of how you saw it, and I imagine most people didn't see it that way. I agree,
but you took away the meat of that story. Yeah, and I respect that. But I think just for me, what's more interesting is this concept with the xenomorph. Yeah, and I think we just like different things about the movie. Yeah, or the franchise, what it seems like. So I'll go back and watch Aliens and compare it to some other 80s movies, but do me a favor and watch. You already watched Alien again, right?
Oh, Alien? The first one?
You watched it again, right? Yeah. Check out Prometheus and Covenant, man.
Yeah,
and let me know if you appreciate that side of it too.
Yeah, I know I saw them when they came out in the theater, but that was a long time ago, and I wasn't overly impressed. But yeah,
I didn't realize that Prometheus came out in 2012. That's a while ago.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah. I had no interest in seeing it because I didn't know anything about it because I didn't know anything about Alien. Yeah. But I think it answers a lot of questions. I mean, Prometheus has a lot of issues with the writing. There's a lot of plot holes and stuff that's kind of weird. Covenant makes it a little bit better, but Prometheus is still kind of, I don't know. It wasn't as strong as it could have been. Yeah. And sometimes with what's cool about this is the mystery. And in Prometheus and Covenant, they deal a lot with these ancient civilizations in different galaxies and stuff. And really, and then when you kind of get the answers, it's kind of like, oh, well, that ruins the mystery. It's not as cool now. But there's a lot of cool and where you kind of learn where actually everything does start from. It does start from this ancient civilization, but it gets messed with the with David the android and all these kind of things happen, and it's interesting. It is cool at the way that the xenomorph actually ends up coming into play. Yeah, and where it came from. But it's messy. It is messy though. It's not great. I understand why people didn't love them. Yeah. But they fit much better with Alien.
Right. And see, that was my thinking too. That's the reason why I wanted to watch them. I just didn't get a chance to do it, but I wanted to watch those for that reason because I figured Alien would segue better into those other two movies than you would I think we were saying that earlier. You would just skip Aliens, everything from Aliens and the other the 2, 3, and 4. Yeah. Just skip that and watch those in that block. And especially because Ridley Scott did those movies. So that's more in line with his vision.
What he was trying, what he wanted to accomplish.
People have jumped in and, he wasn't able to do everything he wanted to do, if I had to make a guess. That's typically how most movies work. But it would be interesting to watch Alien and then go right into those and skip. Because,
really, it's two separate trilogies.
Big time.
It's what it actually looks like. It's two completely different things, sets of movies. And again, not trying to put Aliens in the same category as Resurrection and 3,
right?
Because that's not even. Those are completely different in quality. But I think these are two separate trilogies, really, telling. Focusing on two different topics in this universe. Yeah. And I think that's anyway. But yeah. Damn, I was gonna say something else, but I forgot.
I guess it wasn't give me like $20 or
you with the $20, man. Again, $20? I just don't have $20 to my name. I just don't have it. I just don't have that kind of money. But
one day you will.
Well, I hope so.
Get it.
But yeah, no, man. But overall, dude, I'm really glad that I went back and watched them all.
Because so you can say you've seen them at least.
Yeah, and I don't regret. I mean, even watching the bad ones, I don't necessarily regret. Like, because now I know. You do. I'm aware. But after watching basically everything that Alien has put out in movies, I can sum it up. I can sum up the Alien franchise in like one phrase: fuck Joss Whedon. Fucking hate that guy.
That's your answer for everything.
Dude, Alien Resurrection that's a piece of shit, man. He wrote that movie. It's a piece of shit. He didn't direct it, but still, man.
And that's the third or the fourth one?
The fourth one. Resurrection. Okay. With the basketball.
The fourth one, that was horrible.
Shitty dialogue and the stupid jokes and the fucking...
The third one was not good. Aliens Cubed, as everybody calls it, was not good. I can't believe... The fourth one was worse.
It was worse than it, yeah.
I don't understand because the third one was not great.
Yeah, it wasn't good at all, man.
I thought, geez, you guys really screwed the pooch on this one. And then the fourth one came out and it was like,
you really? How do you make it?
How do you make it a movie that bad? How do you make it that
bad? I think I've had like the weirdest relationship with Joss Whedon because there was a point where I was like, yeah, Joss Whedon, he's a nerd like me, but he makes movies and he loves comics and he's great because, he's had a track record, of good stuff, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But I've seen Firefly at this point now. I've seen it, and that's okay for me. I think maybe I watched it too late. I'm afraid to watch Buffy now because of everything else. And the first Avengers was good for the time. I think it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Avengers 2 was horrible, but and then Justice League, his version of Justice League was horrible. And there's just all these things. I'm like, dude, just Joss Whedon kind of suck, man. So my perspective of him has changed so much because there's at one point where I was like, oh, Joss Whedon's doing Avengers. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
And then now I'm like, if Joss Whedon's gonna touch something, I'm like, the fuck, man. And then just watching Resurrection, I was like, dude, this is his movie, and I can tell by the way he writes and the way he writes his characters. And I was like, this shit's dumb, man.
Yeah, I was kind of looking for those some of those comparisons, to how, he said how he does write characters. And that movie came out in the mid 90s,
like 96, right?
Or 96. And it was pre-Buffy. It was
pre-Buffy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it was pre-Buffy the movie. Mm-hmm. It might have been, but it's definitely pre-Buffy the series, which again is great. I think.
Yeah.
Well, again, for me, that series still holds up when I watch it. It might be one of the best ones. It's that good.
Oh, shout out to Kenji. Kenji started watching it.
I started watching Buffy?
Yeah, he said it's a little dated, but he's enjoying it though.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, it's very dated. It's very 90s.
It's like 90s, right?
Yeah. And the quips are, pretty 90-ish, the style of it. But and again, maybe just because, I was watching it, it still it holds up for me. But and here's the thing though, with in my opinion with Joss Whedon. I look at it the same way some people, and this is not a cheap shot, but the same way some people look at Zack Snyder, right? Some people look at the stuff he does, and they're like, he's terrible or whatever. But I'm like, well, hang on a second. He did Watchmen. He did Superman. He's done some great things. So I'm not ready to throw, again, like I've said this 100 times, I'm not ready to throw him under the bus because he's made a couple of bad movies or maybe some questionable movies. Like he's the good that he's done, and maybe it goes down to focus. I'm focusing more on the good that he's done than the bad that he might have done.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with M. Night Shyamalan. Like I feel he's done more good. Well, even if it's not more good than is bad, I feel like the good that he has
It's
done,
been really good.
yeah, it outweighs whatever bad he might have
It's
done.
been pretty bad, but
yeah, there have been
some stinkers.
There's
some real bad stinkers in there, man. Yeah,
there have been some,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like there are a lot of directors that happens to. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So, and to me, like if I see that you had the potential at one point in time and you delivered, then I'm gonna give you a more leeway. I'm gonna give you more of a pass. Even Steven Spielberg made a couple of bad movies here and there too. So
are you still cool with Joss Whedon at this point? Like you're like he can do some stuff maybe.
I
think he's starting to lean towards the bad side now.
What?
Well, I mean, I guess I haven't
all the
seen
movies
that
he's done, right?
Did,
so
the last thing I remember
Avengers,
him doing was Nevers, the Nevers.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
That show.
Oh, the show on
HBO.
HBO.
Yeah, that was the last thing I remember him doing.
That felt very Joss
Joss
Whedon.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
the dialogue and the way they talk to each other.
Yeah, his
like that way, like Victoria, England, or whatever.
Right,
it was.
exactly.
Like,
yeah, that's
okay.
like I think Whedon's dialogue is what bothers me. I think that's what it is. And then obviously he writes his like female characters very specifically, and his male characters very specifically too, like very quippy or tough or I don't know what he does, but his style of writing is very specific.
Yeah.
And I think I haven't seen Buffy, so that doesn't hold a spot for me. So really now at this point it's just Avengers was solid, the first one, for the time and for what it did.
Yeah.
Great. And I'm trying to really think about anything else for me that I've seen and that I swear by.
Well, yeah, for me, Avengers definitely, Firefly 100%, Buffy 100%. I know he did Much Ado About Nothing. I haven't seen it.
Oh yeah,
I heard it's pretty good.
It's like a modern version.
Yeah, modern take on it. But I heard he did a good job with it.
That was like right after the Avengers. I think he just took the money he made from Avengers and made that movie.
He ran,
Yeah, I was like, oh, cool, man.
I think he did another one called it was like some web series. I want to say Doctor somebody singing something with Neil Patrick Harris.
Dr. Horrible's something
or whatever.
Oh, that was his. He did that.
It was entertaining. It was pretty cool. Again,
I'm gonna give that to Neil Patrick Harris. I think he probably carried that. That was just being freaking biased. Yeah.
But I know he had the captain. I can't think of his name. Nathan Fillion. Yeah, he was in it too. So I mean, I like seeing him. He's just like that.
Always the same character, but always good though.
He's like the guy you like.
Yeah, very charismatic every time. Yeah. So yeah.
Pretty much the same guy. God bless his heart. He wasn't Buffy. He played a bad guy in Buffy.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that all joking aside, outside of that, Alien. It is cool. It's very cool. Very cool. If I can sum it up, yeah.
Yeah, we've got different different takes on it, and again, I watched Alien. I loved it. I thought it was cool. Like I said, for me, I'm just maybe a little bit more with Aliens. Like if I had to choose one, I was going to keep or whatever, and just the one. But yeah, I figured we were going to have a different take on it. So,
I think so too. But also then we're from different decades too as well. So and we grew up with different things. I think so. Yeah. But
astute,
you guys tell us what your favorite Aliens did, and if it's Alien Resurrection, get out.
Yeah, you just
if that is your favorite version of it, then
fix yourself.
This is the one time I'm going to say, go away from here. Do not come back. But that basketball scene alone.
Oh, geez, all that stuff felt so awkward. Man.
Yeah,
it was. Man, how do you? Ron Perlman was in it.
I know Ron Perlman.
Perlman.
Winona Ryder was in it, man. Like none of them were good, man. None of them were good.
None of them were good.
Anyway,
I did like the pilot though. She was pretty good, but come get your mind out of the gutter.
Yeah. Anyway, but so that's gonna be it. Maybe we'll come back around when you check out Covenant. And
I'll watch that.
Prometheus will do a little follow up when we get some, maybe if we get time. But otherwise, that's our talk about Alien. We finally got through it. We did a how have you haven't seen this? Segment.
Yeah, we gotta come with some other ones.
Yeah, that was a handful. I just had to go back and listen to all our episodes and find out which ones they were. But I know that there are a
just
handful
like
of them.
talk and think and come up with
Yeah, which one's the other scene? Yeah, but
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk on Alien. Real quick, what are we into this week? I started playing Knights of the Old Republic on my Switch. I bought that Star Wars pack. It was on sale.
Cool.
Yeah, it was like $59, but it came with like 6 games. It was
Nice, wow.
It was KOTOR 1, KOTOR 2, the pod racing one, Force Unleashed, and then both Jedi Academies 1 and 2.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great deals on sale, so I bought it, and I've been playing KOTOR a lot recently.
Right
It's pretty great.
That's cool.
Even more fun than I remember. I think I played it when I was young, and there's so much dialogue. You do so much reading and choosing, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I just got burned out on that when I was a kid. But
I know my friends loved it when it came out. They were like, that's all they were talking about. Kind of thing. So I get it.
Yeah.
As far as what I started watching, Lift on Netflix with it's one of these heist movies.
Oh, okay.
And Kevin Hart is in it. And Peter Parker's friend from the
newer movies.
Okay, yeah, he's in it too. I couldn't finish. I had to stop. It was, and it's by what's it, F. Gary Gray or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He, in my opinion, I don't know the guy. I'm sure he's very nice, but these movies are they're like your typical, I'm a thief, I'm gonna outsmart the system, and the system's coming after me, and it's not great. I think when the detective that was chasing after Kevin Hart and his crew of super thieves, where they're just hacking everything and doing it, like, these are the most powerful people on the planet. They're stealing art, apparently. But yeah, when her character and his start hanging out, like, why do you chase after people? Well, when I went to school, or why are you like an art detective? Yeah. When I was this poor little girl in school, my mother ran the school and she had a piece of art and it was beautiful and somebody stole it, and now I'm after. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, you got to have this kind of
great writing.
Yeah, you're a cop and you're a cop and just be a cop.
Yeah.
Why do you have to have some sort of like emotional
reason
why to retrieving art like that? It was like. It was
too specific. Yeah.
I was like, I can't do it. I tried.
So you couldn't even finish it.
I tried.
Now, I'll be honest with you, man. I think I have not ever seen a Kevin Hart movie that I thought was good. I think. No offense to Kevin Hart. Sure, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I know his stand-up in the past. I've seen maybe one of his stand-ups.
Yeah.
It's good. I know he was really, really big at one point with stand-up.
Sure,
and he probably maybe still is. I don't know. As big,
I don't know how much stand-up he says.
But he was huge at one point as a
time,
stand-up comedian. And he was doing a lot of movies. He did a couple of those movies with Ice Cube, a couple of movies like he did one with like Will Ferrell.
Yeah, Get Hard. That was
did one with The Rock. I think he did one with The Rock.
Yes. Some sort of like high school, a CIA or something like that.
Yeah,
or something like
it's
that.
the same, basically the same formula for each movie. You put him with somebody else, and he's the funny one. The other guy's the hard-boiled one, and then and chaos ensues. And chaos and shenanigans ensue.
Right,
every single one of those movies, I think, have not been good.
Yeah.
So
Have you seen Soul Plane?
Was he in that?
Yeah, he was the lead on that. That was his. I think it's his first movie. But
he was the lead in Soul Plane.
Yeah.
Shit, I don't even remember that.
Yeah. he was in. I can't say that out loud, but.
I thought he was good in Jumanji, the Jumanji movies.
Yeah.
I thought that was the first time I was like, oh, okay, cool. But otherwise, though,
and there was a movie where the premise is dumb, where he plays like this "I'll be the best man for your wedding" kind of thing with Josh Gad was in it.
Josh Gad.
Yeah. And there were parts of that were pretty entertaining. I did like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if say it was a good movie, but there were parts of it that I liked and enjoyed. I think and I did like Real Husbands of Hollywood.
Oh yeah,
that was funny. It was just a complete rip
on the Housewives
on all of it. And it was hilarious. And he had a lot of stars in it, which made it that much better.
Nice.
But it was a hilarious show. Completely silly, completely not to be taken seriously. You knew that watching it.
Yeah.
And it was funny. But yeah, kind of the same way. Like this last movie and he's not playing like a funny guy. Which is cool. I like seeing that.
Yeah.
And he has done some serious movies. But I haven't watched them all. There was one where it's on Netflix where I think he's a single dad. I think maybe the mom passed away or something like that, so he's just trying to figure it out. There's one that he did with I can't think of his name right now. the guy from Breaking Bad and Malcolm in the Middle. Bryan Cranston. Yeah. Serious movie. Supposed to be pretty good, but yeah, it was. I couldn't do it. Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah,
very disappointing. What you're not.
It was almost like Red Notice.
Oh,
I talked about that a long time ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
And again, I think this movie, Lift, and even Red Notice are movies that people will enjoy. You know what I mean? If you just want to sit down and watch some action stuff going on, then you'll like it. But yeah, if you look at stuff and you're like, well, wait, why did that happen? Well, why are you doing this? How did that happen?
Yeah.
If you're that person, you're gonna be like,
yeah, I think there's like a certain like genre or category or like price point of these movies. They're just like, let's sink $25 million in this movie or $50 million into this movie. Just make something quick, make it funny, and just throw it up. We got a couple stars in it. People might show up to watch it. Yeah. Or it's a straight to Netflix kind of thing. Like there's a certain category of those movies that get made quite often. Right. And I'm sure. I mean, if you're gonna pay me $1 million or $2 million to do this movie, I'll probably do it. Yeah. But you know, and I'm sure it's I don't know. It keeps you working, I guess, too. But there's like it's like a genre of these kind of substandard movies that have.
And that happens,
stars,
and that's it's not anything new. Like every generation, that's always been the thing. There have been bad movies. Like when you talk about all the great movies, like around Citizen Kane and all that kind of stuff. There were bad movies that were out too. Yeah. That's not anything new. There's always been like these. I don't even want to call them B movies. They were movies that maybe were supposed to be A movies, and they were just not good. Yeah, just didn't do well. So that is
Yeah, that's the case. So
it's just
history repeating itself.
Yeah,
that's right. We need to get out there, make our own movie, and show them how it's done,
and fix it.
Yeah, or watch our movies just as shit. The shittiest movie ever made. Yeah. Okay, go back to podcasting, you guys. But yeah, I guess that's it. That's gonna do it. We wrap it up. Next week we're gonna be talking about Madam Web. I think that comes out.
Yes, it does.
Reluctantly. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I might not get around to watching it.
Okay, if you don't, that's cool. I'll watch it and I'll you can ask me questions like, did this happen? And I'll be like, yeah, it happened.
I'll just be asking you questions about Sydney Sweeney the whole time, like. What was her costume like from this angle? Did she take it off at all? Did she take her mask off? Did she? Yeah. One shoe on, one shoe off.
It's a good reason to watch.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna ask you about basically. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try my best to go watch it, but it's tough to get over on weeknights for me to watch a movie, and I just don't want to pay for this movie either. But if anyone has a hookup. Yeah,
right. Make that happen. Yeah, I haven't gone to a movie theater in a minute, so I am looking forward to just the experience.
It's a good movie. Yeah. But yeah, we're covering Madam Web next week. I don't want to assume it's gonna be dumpster fire, but
yeah, but it's Sony.
Sony. It's Sony in the Spider-Man world. They're not
on fire.
Superhero movies
or setting it on fire. My bad. Setting it on fire.
I will say though, I saw the trailer for Craven looked pretty good. That looked pretty good. Cool. That trailer looked pretty good, and I was like, that might be if it's not connected to I don't need the connections.
Yeah.
So show me a good Craven Hunter movie. That might.
Man, I always hated Craven too.
Yeah.
As far as like Spider-Man villains were concerned,
because that
why are you trying to hunt him, you bastard? That comic too. That what if?
Yeah.
Oh man, that
horrible.
Really
scarred for life.
I mean, I saw that when I was in high school ish, but even before that, I was like, Craven,
just leave him alone, man.
Here's a dude. Why are you trying to hunt another man, you jerk?
Pick another kind of prey, man. You gotta pick Spider-Man.
Animal, right?
Shit, man.
Yeah, what are you trying to hunt?
Yeah,
Spider-Man. He's not like Lion Man or Elephant Man or something.
That's what it should be, because your whole thing is like you hunted every single animal,
big game, right? Now
and then now you're trying to it's like I'm gonna hunt a spider plus a man plus spider. That's the next level. No, you should be going for like the bear man. Like that would be a feat, man. Yeah.
You want to impress me? Go fight Colossus. Go Go hunt the Hulk or the Juggernaut.
I'm gonna go hunt Worm Man.
Yeah. And then be all proud of yourself.
Yeah, right. No, get out of here, Craven.
Yeah, the powers of a worm.
Yeah.
He came out when it rained. Come on, that's it.
Worm Man. That's the character now. Maybe I'm the character. But anyway, yes, that's gonna be it. Thanks for tuning in as always. I guess we did it. I lost my train of thought there. It's been a long day, long week. But anyway, as always, thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We love doing this. We're going to keep it going as much as we can forever. And you let us know which movie you like from the Alien franchise the best, and we will argue about it.
Right. And it's just Alien or Aliens.
Yeah.
There's no, if you got another option, you keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say it, but.
Yeah. I mean, if you said Covenant, maybe because it's modern and shot well, but
let's see.
That's still, it should be between those two.
Right.
Realistically. But anyway, as always, my name's Trent.
And my name is Mark.
And this has been Geek Off The Street. This thing is really cool, man.
Yeah, the detail of it is amazing, and it came from Resurrection.
This figure looks great.
And I wouldn't have bought it if I knew it was from Resurrection.
Have you actually read it?
Yeah, if I
typical Mark.